Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and coming up in today's newscast, attacks reported on chemical weapons facilities in Syria. A strong message both for Assad and his backers in Tehran. Meanwhile, the former First Family taking shots at former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And finally, the startup, aka innovation, aka unicorn nation, like you've never seen it before. A look at the brand new series premiering on ILTV+. A new report by the Washington Post published on Monday, alleging that over the past few years, Israel's been responsible for attacking at least 3 chemical weapons facilities in Syria. And while Jerusalem's refusing to reply, Western intelligence sources said that they're confirming that the facilities were used to produce nerve gas for the Bashar al-Assad regime. March 5th and June 8th, 2020. On these days, as well as on at least another occasion the year before, Israel supposedly flying deep into Syrian territory and attacking. The targets including a villa and compound in the suburb of Homs and a military storage bunker and laboratory north of Damascus. Unlike the hundreds of other reported Israeli strikes in Syria, however, these stood out. Not only were they far further into Syrian territory than is typical, they're also supposedly connected to Syria's deadly sarin nerve gas production network. It's a program that Syria claims to have ended in 2013 after using the gas in its civil war, mostly against Islamic State and al-Qaeda strongholds. But Israeli and U.S. intelligence services apparently speaking on condition of anonymity to the Post, saying that the Assad regime had been secretly continuing its program, and evidence of such could be seen in the use of chlorine gas on opposition fighters that year. In any case, it's unclear if the attacks were successful in actually throwing Syria's program off path. Sources claiming that only administrative offices and a lab were destroyed. And later, investigations have likewise determined that Syria always maintained the ability to attack civilians with poison gases. What is known is that the strikes were intended to be preemptive, as hitting an existing stockpile of chemical weapons risks the safety of nearby towns. And we also know that the attack and its revelation today sending a sharp message to Syria's backers in Iran. Israel promising for years to do everything within its powers to prevent threats along its borders, particularly from Iran via Syria and Lebanon. And these reports showing that Jerusalem is willing to act on these vows. Similarly, Israeli officials recently returning from security-related meetings abroad. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett returning from the UAE, where, among other topics, he and the Crown Prince were said to have discussed forming a new international defense network opposite Iran. And Defense Minister Gantz and Mossad head David Barnea returning from the Pentagon, where they called on the United States to leave the stalling nuclear negotiations in Vienna, and on the IDF to prepare alternatives. The United States, on the other hand, seemingly not yet fully on board with the idea, the Biden administration rejecting Israel's request to expedite the delivery of 2 out of the 4 military refueling jets that Israel purchased. The jets are theoretically necessary for an extended IAF flight to attack Iran. Now, Iran aside, another controversy popping up this week, former United States President Donald Trump and son-in-law/advisor Jared Kushner airing their dirty laundry with former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's all documented in a newly published book by Israeli journalist Barak Ravid. But what exactly are the claims, and what do they say about Netanyahu? What do they say about Trump? Joining me with the analysis, deputy editor for the Jerusalem Strategic Tribune and former U.S. diplomat Robert Silverman. Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Now, for one, Trump is claiming that Netanyahu was too quick to congratulate President Biden on his election, and Jared Kushner is claiming that Netanyahu blindsided them with the decision to annex parts of the West Bank. Kushner saying that Netanyahu announced the move with support from the United States, but before the move had actually been suggested even to Trump and the rest of the White House. Do you believe the reports?
I don't. Thank you for asking me. I know Barak Ravid's book is out. I haven't read his book. So I have only seen news reports excerpting it, and I don't believe them. Barak Ravid is a respected former Haaretz reporter, but not everything he has said is honestly accurate, and certainly not in those incidents. I can explain why I